Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's session. Tonight we will be hearing from CTN and the Office of Organizational Equity. We'll be starting with CTN. They will have an hour each, and we'll do about 30 to 45 minutes of a presentation, and then we'll do Q&A at the end. Q&A will work very similarly to how it did the very first night, which is please put your questions in the Q&A box below. And then at the end, once we've gotten everybody's questions, then we'll do the Q&A for each department. So tonight we are going to start with CTN. So let me promote Melissa Bondi, who will be talking to you tonight about Community Television Network. And we're ready whenever you are, Melissa.
Okay. Let me introduce myself first, and then I'm gonna show my presentation. But my name is Melissa Bondi. I am assistant manager here at CTN. I've been here for 13 years in January. So I've done a little bit of everything here at CTN that you can do. So, and I still, participate in every little aspect of what we offer in our services here. So everything from hosting to producing to managing to programming, working with the public, social media. I'm able to do a little bit of everything. And of course, I have a wonderful staff and of producers and trainers and programmers. So I'm able to then, take your questions and move them on to the appropriate person when inquiries or questions come up. So I will share my screen and then I will begin. And like Sarah said, I think it's about 30 minutes of content, just depends how talkative I am. And but I'm happy to answer, of course, your questions at the end. I guess let me know. Hopefully you can see my screen.
Nothing yet.
Hold on. Let's see. Share. There we go. Do you see the main part or the next slide part?
I see like everything. Perfect. There you go.
Perfect. Okay. Sounds good. It always gets me because I have two screens, so it always gets me there. Okay. So CTN, Community Television Network, we were established in 1973, so we just had our 50th year recently, our 50th year anniversary. We are a public education and government station, so you may hear me refer to us as a PEG station, that stands for Public Education and Government. One of the oldest, one of the largest in the country. Fortunately, we have 4 channels. Many stations will have 2, maybe 3. You don't hear too often of stations having 4, but Comcast Xfinity has 4 designated channels for us, which I will go over soon. Here at CTN, we have our core services, like I mentioned. So we operate the 4 cable channels. We provide the city meetings on cable and on demand and on YouTube, as well as hundreds of events coverage. And then we promote nonprofits and in general, and also their events. We're the go-to spot for your local election coverage. We offer free video production facilities and free digital media production training. So that's a little bit of our core services. It kind of there's little facets in between each one, but that's our main services that we offer here. Like I mentioned, our cable channels, Xfinity, Comcast 16, 17, 18, 19, and each of them have a like a niche, right? So 16 is our meeting coverage in our CTN series. If you've checked them out before, channel 17 is the public access channel. So that's the public's channel. That's your channel. And a little bit more on that soon. Channel 18 is the educational channel. So that's where a lot of our educational programming ends up. So there's sometimes some crossover between 17 and 18, but for the most part, that's channels that are programming that's coming from educational institutions from all around the country. So not, obviously locally, right, with the universities and the community colleges, and not just in Washington, but all over the state of Michigan as well. And anything that you would consider a educational programming. So we have cooking shows and language arts shows uh, and things of that sort. We also have we would have cartoons. We'd have a cartoon block for kids after school. Anything kind of revolving around the topic of education. And then we have our Channel 19 community bulletin board. So that is our 24/7 scrolling messages, electronic bulletin board messages that I mostly manage. So we'll have folks submit messages, or we'll create for you. Or I simply find them, as I'm scrolling the net or on Twitter or social media, and I'll grab things and put things up on the bulletin board. Of course, that they're all nonprofit, you know, uh, type messages. So there's no advertising, but a little bit more on that too. And then AT&T channel 99 for those who have AT&T. It's channel 99. There's a little bit of a navigation through it, but that provider will have all of the same programming that is on channel 16. So whatever folks at home are watching on Comcast Xfinity 16 is the channel that they've dedicated to AT&T. It's channel 99. As well. So those are our cable channels, but I like to say we're not just cable anymore. We haven't been for a long time. So we have also have our video on demand, right? And our YouTube and our live stream. So I always say you can watch CTN online anytime. So people ask, oh, where is this shown? And I say, well, it's this community, but it's also online. So if you don't have cable, which we know a lot of folks have moved away from traditional cable and they've gone the streaming route or other routes, and it may not be cable anymore. And we definitely know that, and we definitely feel it. But we're here to provide our service and our channels and our content to you anywhere, anytime. So we'll have folks watch our city meetings. Maybe it's on cable, or maybe it's the live stream on our website, or maybe it's the live stream on YouTube. So those are the options that folks can have if they want to watch a meeting, our programs, event coverage, the art fair, all that good stuff. So we have our live stream on our website, video on demand, and then our YouTube channel, which I call our fifth channel. So on the live stream, I should mention is um, a meeting that's taking place live, right? So it's on cable, and it's also the same thing as streaming on our website. So folks have the option to watch it live at either place. And then which doesn't get a lot of talk about, but we have a app. So we're on an app that folks can watch. It's called the Cablecast app. I've got it here at home because I'll check it from time to time because I don't live in Ann Arbor and I don't have Comcast. So if I want to watch our channels, I usually go on our website or I'll go on my app. But it's a free app and it's called the Cablecast app. And we have our 4 channels on there, and they're all in HD. Whereas on Comcast and AT&T, our channels are not HD. However, our programming is in high definition. So, and it is also on YouTube, but cable doesn't provide us that, unfortunately, not yet. But you are able to watch all of our programs actually on the app, as well as the Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and the Roku. And I have directions on our website on how to find these. It's a couple of steps to find it if you're, on your television or Amazon Fire, but you can bring it up on the big screen if you've got a TV at home and watch everything in HD. And it's a really, really nice. It's a really nice option for folks who may not be, near their phone or tablet or, at home, and they can get it on their television screen that way. So funding real quick. So CTN is funded by cable franchise fees. So it's a compensation paid to the local franchising agency, so us, the city of Ann Arbor, for the use of the rights of ways. So to put the cables down in our sidewalks in the streets. The cable companies are paying the city a fee, and the city then turns or provides that money to CTN. So that's how our budget is, how we're funded. So it's cable franchise fees as well as a PEG fee. So if you have Xfinity, you've probably seen it. I have a little thing on this screen here for a franchise fee and a PEG fee. So that's what each subscriber pays. And then that money goes to the city, and the city sets that aside for CTN. And that's how our budget, because some folks think that it's tax. We're not, it's a tax, but it's not your tax dollars. So when folks, like I mentioned, cut the cord, we feel it because that's where our funding comes from. It's from cable subscribers, and from AT&T, and also, obviously from Comcast. But so we know all too well about when we've seen our shrinking budget over the years, and we know it's just something that's has happened, and it's well known, and all of the centers are all over the country, are feeling it, and many centers have closed because of this. Fortunately, we're um, valued in the city. We provide a value, and as well, we have a wonderful staff and those that support CTN, and we do our best to bring, like I said, the meetings, coverage, you name it. We have just been around for so long and done so much that we are definitely seen as a value in the community, which we appreciate all the time. So we're, when we see people, cutting the cord, it breaks our heart sometimes, but we know that it's just the way, things are going. So, but that's a little bit about the budget and how we're funded. So it is from a franchise fee from cable subscribers. A little bit about the viewership. So CTN is carried on, like I said, Comcast Xfinity. We're in Ann Arbor, the Ann Arbor Township, Ypsilanti, Ypsilanti Township, portions of Scioto and Pittsfield. That's where our channels reach. These were numbers that were told to us right around the pandemic when I had pushed for it, because that was the number one question we were getting is, well, when things shut down, cable went up, so everything shut down, and uh, everyone saw the cable subscribers increasing for the first time in many years because everyone was home and they wanted to watch TV, whether it was cable or streaming or whatnot. But there was definitely a change that happened for a year or two or three after 2020 that people, were watching more TV. So people wanted to know, well, if we're going to put our stuff on CTN, because you could still submit anything to CTN, and we would put it on our channels, and people could still get their messaging out. And so we were given a number of about 60,000 households that is our commercial reach here within those cities. But again, you can also watch everything online. So but people always want to know the cable ratings, and unfortunately, we don't have those numbers. It's very expensive to get numbers like that. The data as far as who's watching and when, because we don't advertise. People don't advertise how many advertising was paying for those numbers like they would in traditional, like on broadcast stations. So we simply don't have those numbers to give to people. It's a matter of tracking with Google Analytics, like our website tracking, who's on our visiting our video on demand, how many views do we get on YouTube, how many hits, how many people, how many hours are people watching certain programs. We can see that kind of stuff with the online video on demand and our live stream. But unfortunately, as far as the cable channels, we just don't know how many people are actually watching. Back in the day, People would say, "Oh, I saw you on TV." There's a lot of word of mouth, and we'd hear that a lot. I heard it especially. We saw you on TV, and it was just simply, and then people would tell us from here and there, and over time that I saw you or I saw this, and it was like a word of mouth thing as far as people being able to knowing, oh, someone watching us, people are watching. And back in the day, before they had like the digital cable where you had a menu, people would flip, right? You'd turn the channel, you just flip. And that was back in, the 2000s, early 2000s, late, 90s, people would just flip and you'd come across something. Now everything is, menu based. When it comes to cable, and you just kind of know what you're going to go to, what channel you want to see versus just people don't flip anymore, flip through channels. And if they do, wow, I mean, I just hadn't heard of that. So, yeah, unfortunately, we don't have those numbers the number one question we get is, how many people watch your channels? So I've been hearing that for many, many years, but we try our best. And again, the PEG TV, we're non-commercial. So we are here to meet the needs of the community, government transparency, public access, things of that nature, as opposed to, traditional advertising for ads and things like that. A little bit about city meeting coverage. So CTN and our staff, we cover about I think it's 19 city of Ann Arbor boards and commissions, and averages about 200 meetings per year that we cover. We play them on our live stream, video on demand, and our YouTube. Most of them, most if not all, are on one form or the other. Not everything is live, but if it's not live, then we take the file and we'll upload it after the fact. We record special events, right? So special meetings. So these are just a couple examples of things that we did. I think it was last year was the Vision Zero, the Band Shell Project, the Pros Plan, any town hall updates, construction updates, things like that we'll cover aside from a traditional commission, city commissioner board meeting. We also cover the Board of Education and the DDA meetings as well. And again, all of this just is that, enhances the government transparency. This is what we're doing. We put it out there. I mean, that's why they have as many meetings as they have. We're a very, very busy city and a busy place. So we do our best to make sure that everything is up one way or the other. And if it's not, we definitely try to figure out, how to get it. We've had sometimes there's meetings, like I mentioned, 16 is our meeting channel. So if there's two separate commissions that are meeting and they may overlap in time, like one of them may start at 5:30 and the next one starts at 7, but that meeting might run into it. We will move one of those meetings to channel 19. That's our kind of like the fallback channel. So that way we can have both the meetings running or able to go live on the same night. So it's able to go live as opposed to being, uploaded the following day. So that happens probably on a monthly basis, I would say over the last year or two. We find there's just to make sure that, we're no one's stressing out and everything can get on it at the right time when it's supposed to. A little bit about our staff. So we are part of the City of Ann Arbor Communication Department. So we're not a city hall. We're housed over here on Industrial Highway. We've got 8 full-time management, 3 producers, a programmer, 4 producers, a programmer, and then 3 to 4 temporary production assistants throughout like I would say a calendar year. So they rotate out, and we have about, I would say about 3 at any given time, because they do assist and help with a lot of our programs and meeting coverage. Because there's 8 of us, but one of them is director. We have our manager, myself, and then we've got our producers. So we always need a little bit of extra hands. And then we have our seasonal internship program that I manage, and it's usually goes, it's seasonal meaning, we'll have interns in the fall and the winter, and then in the summer is primarily how I like to structure that. So some of our programs you may or may not have seen. These are just a little bit, these are some of them, but are kind of like our core programs that our producers produce in-house. Ann Arbor Inclusive, Adventures in Parenthood, CTN Sports. That's the Ann Arbor Public Schools sports that we cover on a seasonal basis. And FYI, that's our infotainment show. Let's Watch with the Ann Arbor Film Festival. So we partner with them every year. I think this was our maybe our ninth year with the film festival. We interview filmmakers leading up to the festival, which is coming up, I think, next week. Senior Moments, that show has been on for over 20 years. I think we partner with the senior centers around Washtenaw County and Ward Talk. So that's council members and the mayor who come on a monthly basis and talk about what's going on, in their ward. And then Soapbox. So Soapbox is kind of like our flagship show. That's our program where we open it up to the public to come on, and you're able to talk about anything you'd like within reason, but for about 5-6 minutes. And we do the production and you provide the content. So that was our way of producing a show so that if you've got a message or something you want to get out quickly, but you don't have the time and the means, and you're not able to, take our, workshops to come to learn how to produce it yourself and training, but you want to get out, that message quickly, we are there to provide that service for you. We run the show, you sign a form, and then you're able to, talk about whatever you'd like to talk about. And it could be, I mean, I have a whole playlist on YouTube of Soapbox, and you can see over the years the different topics. And mostly, I would say the last couple of years, it's mostly been promoting NPOs, promoting events, or something up and coming in general. Though residents will come on and maybe they'll rant a little bit about something. So we leave it up to you, as to use your judgment what you'd like to come on and talk about. But that's the whole point, is it's a soapbox and it's for you, without having to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and we'll do that for you. Some of the additional programs and partnerships. So we have our annual Santa Live call-in show. We do that every year around the holiday. Candidates' comments, the election coverage. We partner with the League of Women Voters every year for candidate comments and election coverage. So I have a whole playlist on YouTube of all of our election coverage as well. The Ann Arbor Art Fair, I've been doing that since I started, but CTN's been there long before that. So we used to do the booth. If you recall, we'd have a booth down there and bring folks up to the booth and talk about our services and put you on TV if you'd like. But we have since changed. Probably the last, post-COVID, we decided that we took the roving through our cameras through the fair. So we'd have different crews going out throughout the day, a couple of days of the fair, and we go out and interview, the fair goers as well as the folks that are there who are, with their art and volunteers. So we kind of did that man on the street as opposed to having just the booth, and that provided actually a lot more programming. So, and it's still just as much fun, but it gave us that little more, be able to get out and really see the fair as opposed to just being in one spot. So we also have partnered with the Rec and Ed to provide media camps in the summer. We didn't do it this summer, but we have done it, I think, for the last 4 summers. We'll have a week of media camps, and kids can come in, and by the end of the week, they're producing a show with their group. And so I think the kids really enjoy that. That's a fun one. And then we also have been covering the Ann Arbor Public High School commencements, again, since I started. So we will cover all of the public high school commencements and put them on the channels, and then provide, put them on a channel as well as our YouTube. And that way, family from around the country or the world, whoever can, see the commencements. As well as we also partnered with the Ann Arbor Public Schools with their community resource program. So we would have students come to CTN and kind of like their last class, seniors, and they would do a project, and we kind of oversee it for like their last semester. And it was a video or digital media project. So we've done quite a few partnerships over the years, but those are just some of them that I like to highlight. I mentioned our electronic bulletin board, we call it the EBB. So if you have an EBB message, we have a form on our website, an electronic form you can fill out about your message and what you'd like to put up, or you can submit one already made. Again, I find them, people do all sorts of graphics and whatnot on social media, so I will grab them if they fit the format for television, right? So you have to be in the right format. But I'll grab things like that, or I'll create it in a program and then put it up. Of course, if it can be timely, if it's timely, I like to have it up for a certain amount of time to make it worth it. But again, if it's something not even, or I've already started promoting events in August for now, but I may start it in April or May, but I've already created it and they're up. These are just some examples of some fun things that people have submitted over the years. But if you go on right now and you'll see there's at least 80 some on scrolling through. So as far as our residency requirements, so if people always ask, well, I want to come to CTN, I don't know what I want to do, but what can I do? I live in Ann Arbor, so we do have a residency requirement. So you have to be a resident of the city of Ann Arbor proper, right? So and then annual proof of that is asked for each year. So nonprofits can be from anywhere, but a resident needs to be within the city limits. So if you are in Scioto Township, you live there, but your address says Ann Arbor, you can check that on our website. We have a map if you're unsure if you're at the border or where you are, but you do have to be a resident at this time to use our facility. Now, to turn in a program, so say you're not interested in, doing anything at CTM, but you have a program that, you're affiliated with a nonprofit, or you have something that you shot on your own, or a school project, or maybe a wedding you attended that you want to put out there for the community to see, whether you're able to do that as a resident, or if you're not, then we can help you, but then you would find a resident to be able to help you and sign for it. So someone would need to sign for that if you're not a resident. If you are a resident, it's even easier, right? So we would ask for identification and then get you in a system, and then you have an online form to fill out, and then submit the file. So it's pretty easy in that sense. But if you're not, then we'll take it to the next level and try and find a resident to sponsor that program. So, say, hey, I have a messaging, so we'll put it out there. Oh, there's this program, A, B, and C, and they would like it on the channel. This is who they are, little background information. And then someone will say, well, you know what, I think that's a really good program. I'd like to put that on to have our community see. And then they would then now they're taking responsibility for the content if that's the case. So that's just a little bit about submitting programs to CTN. So you have the option of being a resident or not a resident as far as submitting programs, but to use the facility and use our equipment, you do need to be a resident or affiliated with a nonprofit. Our facility, so we have 2 studios. We have our main studio, and then we have our smaller studio. So they both have green screens, but the main studio is quite larger and requires a lot more manpower. So we have a control room and the studio. So to do a production in there, there's definitely more logistics. To do something in our smaller studio is a little bit easier, and that's usually our starting point when folks come in and say, oh, I want to produce a show and we want it to be this, and like, okay, let's have a pre-production, let's talk about it. And then we kind of will, guide them that way before we go to the big guns of the main studio. We've also got quite a bit of production equipment. So there are folks that are like, studio, we're not interested in a studio. That's no way. We want to take the cameras out and film this and that and this and edit something, of our own. So you have the option of doing that. And we've got all sorts of equipment to do that. And again, maybe you need a lighting kit. You have your own camera, or you have got certain pieces of equipment, but you really need to borrow something else. That's always an option too. We've got an audio booth, so we've had folks come in just to record voiceovers if they want that professional setting, and then they'll take that VO and record it digitally and then take it back to, maybe they're editing it at home or doing something else as far as with that audio file. but we have a audio booth that our folks are able to use if they want to check that out. And then we also have editing software on our laptops. So we train in Final Cut Pro and we have MacBooks. Our producer generally, well, it's half and half now. So half of them use Avid, half of them use Final Cut. So, but for the most part, we train the public on Final Cut Pro and we have the latest version. So we have MacBooks. So if folks want to check out a MacBook for a week or two with an extension to practice, or they already know how to use the program and they want to produce something at home and they, don't have, aren't able to purchase an actual MacBook with the software, we have that for folks to take out and to use. And we definitely will help train. That's, part of our services. So those are some of the options we have for our facility and our digital media training. So just a little bit about being a public access community producer. So it can get kind of confusing. So community producers, I refer to them as a community producer, and they're volunteers. So you're simply a volunteer at CTN. I like to call them CTN volunteers. That's the term I use, but you'll hear different things. So a volunteer community producer, you are the content owner. So whatever it is that you're producing, you own it. You take responsibility, you stand by it, right? We don't pre-screen or pre-censor anything that you're doing. Of course, we will offer our opinion or, expertise or whatever it is that you may ask. But again, we're not going to tell you no, you can or yes, you can, unless you're doing something with the FCC violating something like that. For the most part, you're taking responsibility for that programming. But of course, we would help you in any questions you may have in regards to that. Again, no commercial, or selling content, no call to action. That's our big thing, is no call to action. So we've definitely had folks on our shows that are within a profession. And I always use the example of our chiropractor who would come on Soapbox. That's the show I mentioned earlier about 5 minutes and you want to talk about this. Well, she would come on and talk about chiropractic care. She's a chiropractor in the area. She introduced herself and talked about what, sleeping positions or whatever it was for, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And she had a script and she was just putting that out there as an educational piece. And she did not talk about her practice. She did not tell people to see her. She did not put it out there. There's no calling to action. That is who she was, and that's what she did. And as well, we've also had, you name the profession, we've had them on. It can be attorneys, it can be real estate agents. Again, you're in their profession and you're talking about it, and that's okay. It's just you don't want to cross that line of selling, right? Call to action. We do ask that all volunteers familiarize yourself with our CTM policies and procedures. So those are on our website as well. We could provide a copy, of course. And then there is the option of underwriting. So the provision of goods and services. So if you're a producer and someone does, provide something for your show, whether it's pizza for your crew. I always use the example of maybe set pieces or some type of design, something generally for like a studio type show. If a business has given you something, there's a form to fill out, but you can certainly give them credit during the show or at the end of the program. And I mean, that's a form of underwriting. So someone did provided something for your program and you're just giving them credit. So again, I would always, refer to, don't tell people to go visit or this is where they're located. Of course, if we put something in the credits and it's got their website or their address, there's certain things that are allowed. So it's something we would just take on a case-by-case basis, but that's a little bit about underwriting. And then, like I mentioned, submitting your programs and your videos to Channel 17. Any resident can submit a program. There's a residency verification form. It's on our website. We also have the option, and people love it, that you could pick a time slot. So that's something you would work out with our programmer. But if you produce, I think it's 4 shows, 4 programs. And so you're now showing that, I'm going to produce a show. I'm serious. This is go time. This is what we're doing. I'm, all in. that will earn you a spot to get a time slot. And that's always great for producers to let their viewers know, or their, whomever, being able to market and promote the show. Like, we're on CTN Wednesdays at 8, and that's your time slot. And if you continuously produce that show, whether it's in-house or external, then you'll be able to secure a time slot. And people love that option. And some people don't mind. They're just like, here's my show, put it on whenever, and let me know when it's going to be on. So that's, we get a lot of that too. So it goes both ways, but it's just nice to have the option. A little bit about following, right? So CTN, we do a lot on social media, so on Facebook and Twitter at this time. So, and as well, obviously, subscribe to our YouTube channels. Our YouTube channel, we're almost up there, almost at 3,000. My earlier slide said 2,500. That was a little bit ago, but I had it up there because it was a milestone. But we're almost at 3,000, so you can subscribe, and then you'll get it, notified when meetings are live, or we have a new program that's up, or just simply, just kind of be in the know if you want with CTN. But again, I do tweet, and I do put out links for shows that are airing or premiering, as well as a lot of retweeting of city events and city notifications. Again, oh, I gotta switch that logo. But if you'd like to contact myself, Craig, or Greg, that we are here for you. Anything or any questions you have. I see we got some in the chat here, but we are definitely here with any questions, and we'll route you to the right person, and we'll do our best and try and help. Our workshops are going to hopefully start. We took there was a little lull there. We were hiring someone, so they are gonna, hopefully start up again, because folks are waiting to get back at it, and get back at CTN again, and we're excited. So yeah, that's a little bit about CTN. I will. Let's see what we got here. Hold on, stop sharing. And okay, let me see. What other options are there to restructure? Oh, given fee. Oh, yeah, fees given from the cord cutting. Um, well, there is talk of streaming, right? So that's a big thing in Lansing right now. And I know, um, people who stream, right? So you get your stream to your house, through the internet, you get your streams, but we don't see anything from that, unfortunately, at this time. And I know that the centers like ours are really pushing for that. And I think it's a big topic right now, because you're still using the rights of ways, right? So I think hopefully we'll get some good news on that, if it's going the way we would like it, because the cord cutting isn't going to stop, and it hasn't stopped, unfortunately. It's continuing it every year. We see it. It's not. I think the percentages are not as significant as they were, I think, right, but pre-COVID. But it's still happening. But yeah, we're looking and we're hoping, we're just kind of waiting to see if something will happen, as far as receiving any type of funding from the streaming sites and the Netflix, the Hulus, things that's like that people are getting their content from, still using, you're still at home getting it that way, like you kind of would with cable, if I'm speaking correctly. That's one way. I think that we as centers like ours are hoping that just some good news can come out of that. Um, how much time in advance do you need for submissions for local government streaming? Are there options if something comes in? How much time in advance do you need? Oh, to schedule streaming, I'm not sure. I know I understand that one. I'm not quite sure. Um, I could type that answer, and I'll talk about that afterwards. It looks like I can type it separately. Do you ever partner with groups like Corps or Community Heritage? Mm, no, I don't know if we have. I don't know. I don't recall. I feel like we probably have somewhere down the line, but I cannot myself recall. Um, we probably have over the years. I know I am always on YouTube searching for content. Maybe it's something that I saw that's just on an organization's YouTube channel. I usually will reach out and say, hey, if you'd like to put this on CTN, we'd be happy to have it. So that is something, like I said, if they didn't reach out to us, we may have reached out to them, but I'm always looking for content, always looking for anything. It could be a program, it could be a PSA. We get a lot from the state of Michigan, but it can be any type of content. It could be 30 seconds to 2 hours and anything in between. There's really no, unless you've got a time slot, the programming TRT, the total running time doesn't matter when it comes to our programs. Our programmer does a great job, putting it on the channel and scheduling it appropriately. Um, but yeah, like I said, I'm always so there's a chance I could have reached out and talked with them. There have been hundreds over the years. We had a list at one time of all the nonprofits we worked with, and it was pages long in one way or the other. So it could have been a partner, it could have been one show, it could have been a whole series, but there have been so many over the years. Oh, any place that school board meetings archived? Oh, on I think we have offered the school board. Um, but I believe they have their own archiving. The school board should have their own archiving or own video on demand. Oh, actually, no, they're they are on our video on demand. So um, it would only be for the last, I think, 2 years that they would be up on our video on demand. So that might be where some of the confusion. We had to scale back on the bandwidth, the amount of content that we had on our video on demand. So we had um, this, I think it's probably 2 or 3 years now worth of meetings that are on our video on demand. But our school board meetings should be um, on our video on demand, but they are not on our YouTube. But I have to check and see if they do something on their own. I believe we have offered it. We always have offered any meeting. I think at one time we had the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners. I believe we have the DDA now, but on our CTNs. So it's just been a lot over the years. So we definitely to look and see if that one and but we definitely have them up there for the last, like I said, 2 to 3 years. Oh, okay. So the storycorps.org. I will look at that one. It's storycorps.org and see. It sounds like they might have some great content, even to have their own time slot or series on CTN. And that there have been quite a few over the years that have come and gone. So a lot of times you'll see with turnover with nonprofits, folks will leave and then someone new comes and tell them all about our services all over again. So that's always can be a challenge. But I will definitely look into that. Storycorps.org. Okay. I think that's it. Anything else? If not, again, of course, you can email me. I'd be happy to talk with anyone about, options at CTN. So yeah, I appreciate it.
It looks like we got one more question. Do you do tours of your two facilities?
We do. In fact, I didn't even bring up tours. Yes, of course we do tours. So we've had every scout group you can think of. Not only that, but I do a lot of homeschool tours. We will have, maybe you're a resident and you just want to see the facility. Yes, we can certainly schedule something of that. A lot of times when we tours are we'll put generally kids, but we'll put them on TV and they can create a promo of some sort. Usually they'll come to schools they'll come with something, pre-scripted, pre-made, and that way they can see themselves on television and get a little bit of the behind the scenes of what TV, what it looks like to be in a studio.
Awesome. And last one, how do we access video on demand?
Okay, yeah. So you'll go to our website, and on the right-hand side, there'll be a tab for video on demand or live TV. And then you would pick, I believe, I think the video on demand has the channels. You pick what channel you want to watch.
Mhm.
So that's the best way I could describe it. But yeah, definitely on our website, go to the right-hand side for the menu and click on video on demand or watch live.
Perfect. And then the last two comments are just thank you so much, Melissa.
I know, I felt like it was a lot of, I always give this is a lot of info. I don't know if the other departments do, but I feel like I'm, and then I
No,
forgot
we love it.
tours.
We absolutely love it. So we really appreciate you so, so much. And I'll see you soon.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Alrighty, so now I will be promoting Laura Orta. They are with the Office of Organizational Equity. The Office of Organizational Equity is actually the City of Ann Arbor's newest office. And so they are doing some really awesome work up there. Very, very new, very, very different for the city. So I will let Laura take it away.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thanks you to you and the clerk's office for having us. Super excited to be here. So I have a presentation, so let me get it up here and share it with everyone. All right, so you're going to see subtitles as well. And if you see weird words as I'm talking, my cats are meowing in the background. So that tends to happen every once in a while. So good evening, everyone. I'm Laura, or LJ Orta. I am the director of the Office of Organizational Equity. As Sarah said, we're really new. We'll see that as we move forward. I'm excited to be here and let you know a little bit about this. So I want to take a moment to check in with everyone. We've had a lot of information by Melissa's fantastic presentation. I love CTN, love doing stuff with them. So I welcome you to take a moment to contemplate your well-being with me. Breathe in as deeply as you comfortably can. Hold your breath for a moment, if possible, and then exhale. Refresh yourself. How are you feeling? Waking up a little bit, maybe coming back. It's been a long Wednesday for me. It's after 7, and I really appreciate your dedication to being here and learning all about the city of Ann Arbor, our services, and our workforce. Because it's an excellent place to work and excellent people here. So the Office of Org Equity, or you will hear me say OOE, was started on September 22nd of 2022 with myself as the director. I have just a long history in public service, in private organizations, local, both local, state, federal, and international public service. I've had the pleasure of working in higher ed. I've had the pleasure of working in the Pacific Rim areas. I worked in Guam. I worked in Seoul, South Korea. I've had the opportunity to work in Italy, and I've just had really just a lovely life. And had the opportunity to do a lot of really wonderful things. And so, born and raised in Detroit area, and I traveled the world, and am back here in Michigan, and really excited to be part of this new office and this new initiative here at the CTN. In October of 2023, the office, OOE, added an accessibility coordinator and a data analyst to the team. So I went from a mighty powerhouse of one to just a huge team of three. And we work to lead initiatives internally and externally for the city of Ann Arbor to ensure that equity is being brought to everyone everywhere. Our catchphrase is equity belongs everywhere. So we define, and this is only interior, we do not set the definition of equity for the city of Ann Arbor. That would be something that our elected or our city members, our constituents would want and need to do. But this is what we do for internal for the city when we're applying for things like grants, right? We need to have terminology for things like equity. And I define it, or we define it through the city as the measured experience of individual, interpersonal, and organizational success and well-being across all stakeholder populations, and the absence of discrimination, mistreatment, or abuse for all. Equity is achieved by eliminating structural barriers resulting from historical, future, and present day inequities, and meeting the individuals, groups, and organizations' unique needs. So you'll hear two terms: equality, and equity. Equality, equal, everybody gets the same thing, and equity is going to give you what you need. I'm 5'2". I need a step stool to reach the upper cabinets in my house. My partner is 6'1". They don't need the step stool to reach the cabinets. If we were to people in a house with upper cabinets, but equity to be able to use the upper cabinets, I need step stool. So there's your difference between equality and equity. Equity is meeting those unique needs. I am very, very data driven. So as I do initiatives, I make certain that there's going to be some type of measurement, either started or being able to be done as we're doing these different treatments that we're working towards. And excuse me, I'm getting over influenza A, as I think a majority of the United States is right now. And talking about the historical, future, and present day. So historical, we all have had some type of history lessons in our past thing. We know where inequities have happened, right? Women's given the right to vote until the 1920s. We just had all kinds of inequities. The ADA Act wasn't passed until the 1970s. It is for the Disabled Accessibility Act. Present day, whatever inequities are happening right now that we could talk about, and future. So we in the OOE really like to say, whenever we're doing something, what are we setting up so that if we are unintentionally setting up an inequity, such as redlining, right? When previous cities, not necessarily Ann Arbor, but cities around the country set up their different ways that they put neighborhoods up and things. There was sometimes intentional and sometimes unintentional redlining where some people lived on a certain line and their socioeconomic status was very different from others. And their voting, all kinds of things were bad based on this redlining, right? Those to me are their historical, but we could also accidentally be setting up these future inequities unintentionally because we don't know some of the things that are going to happen in the future. And so in any treatment, in any program that we do, and anything where we're making policy changes or making some real significant, we're going to take the city and doing things this way, or working with constituents, and we want to move things forward. I always try to build in what will we do if we realize we have forgotten the group, or we're not listening to a voice, or we're doing something inappropriate. So that's why a feature is in there, and it's important to me that it is. So building a city for everyone. Since our inception, we've been working to create a culture where training and education are available to all employees to ensure the fulfillment of our city's mission, to deliver exceptional services that sustain and enhance a vibrant, safe, and diverse community. So part of the achievements in our 2.5 years is we have started a learning management system within the city. We did not have a learning management system when I started. This creates accessible education, training, and credentialing opportunities for all employees. The system is set up so those that have resource training, where they need to continuously get credentialing, they can take courses online and get that credentialing through the city, right? We have that system set up, and then you go on and take these different courses. Individuals who have to get credentialing in or other areas within the city where they have to maintain safety things, they can go on and do that. Police and fire have their own systems around this learning management, although they do take the training that everyone in the city takes that is released through HR as far as compliance, and through my office as far as learning about organizational culture and equity. But we have this so that as people are learning to become managers and work their way up within the city or their own professional growth, we have this available. It's shown to be something that enhances employees' experience in the workforce. It's our way of hoping to enrich our current employees and attract future fantastic employees to the city, because we strive to be a number one employer for in public service. And, we'd love to compete against private service too, for our employees. So learning management system, got that up and it is done. We are currently doing a non-union compensation study, and that is a component of compensation equity that I continue to work on in the city. That is also included in creation of a compensation philosophy, promotional process for non-union employees. If you're a union employee, you understand the steps you need to do to move up the ladder and change your pay grades and things like that. And right now, our non-union employees don't necessarily have a clear-cut understanding of how to do that. We don't have it written in that process. So that's something that I'm working on with our compensation committee. And we just recently got the cost of parking downtown in the garage that the employees who work at City Hall reduced in cost for employees. And that was a really big, exciting win for me, because the cost of it was a little higher than I thought it should have been. And it's really nice to be able to bring the cost of that down for our employees that work downtown. Employees who work at parks or who work at Wheeler, they have free parking. But those of us that work downtown at City Hall, we have to pay the parking for parking structure that we all park in, and we were able to bring that cost down really significantly just this month. So excited that that happened, part of equity and compensation to me. And then bringing employee voices forward, including them in conversations where maybe there hasn't been the opportunity to put a space at, like contracting, or reviewing people that are being bidding on contracts, or the compensation study, hiring people who's going to do the compensation study for us. Started some employee education resource groups, or you might have heard of ERGs before, employee resource groups. I just was wondering, since we call everything A2 here, I made it E2. And then we also have OOE ambassadors. We're training individuals from every service unit um, about the language of the office of OOE, and so that they are kind of a more personal touch with their colleagues and can kind of say, oh, you feel like this happened to you, let's talk about it, and then let's go talk to the Office of Org Equity and HR, or let's go talk to our manager, or just someone in your workspace who's maybe more of a champion for an ambassador for you around issues that are hard to talk about and hard to approach someone who is in a power position if you don't have a buddy system. And so our ambassador will be trained on how to do this. So some other things that I'm either reifying or supporting and making certain that they're getting routinized and really solid within the city, and they support the community as a whole. This year in the fall, October is when the results will come out. We file the information in July. Will mark the 10th year that Ann Arbor will receive a 100 plus. You get extra points, and since I've started, we have definitely got the extra points, but 100 is all they'll publish for the Human Rights Commission. So the national HRC, they do a municipality equality index. It's based on LGBTQ plus individuals, so lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, plus there's other letters in the alphabet that we could talk about another day to say whether or not the city is where we rank as far as a safe space. And it is the highest score that you can get. And really proud that it's an initiative that Ann Arbor started before I got here, and that we will be in our 10th year. One on room here and saying we're going to get the 100, but I've been doing the due diligence, and I'm certain that unless things really go sideways in the city for some unknown reason, that we'll get the 100 again this year, and so we'll be able to celebrate our 10th year of doing it. Was able to host through a partnership with Neutral Zone, which is an organization that brings in young people between the ages of 18 and 24 who have graduated high school but haven't necessarily gone on to college or into a specific career or trade. And they need assistance in determining what they want to do, and assistance in deciding where they need to go, or assistance in life. Neutral Zone is fantastic. If you've never had a chance to go by Neutral Zone during the day, I recommend you reach out to them and go visit them. It's an amazing organization. So we partnered with them. They have Future Core, which is basically an internship for their individuals, and we've had a few of them come to the city and do different jobs. We had the Neutral Zone individuals who are interested come and listen to, like you all are, a bunch of our city services kind of present and recruit the Neutral Zone individuals to come work in the different areas. And it was a great experience, and we are continuing to work forward with them. One of the things that the city did with our newest, not new any longer, but our city administrator, Mr. Dehoney, they set a living wage. And because the living wage that the city of Ann Arbor set, the Neutral Zone Future Core individuals get paid that. Future Core was also at other locations around the city with other businesses. Neutral Zone was able to go to those other businesses and say, hey, the city of Ann Arbor is paying this living wage. And so would you consider also paying this living wage in the city? Because of the policies that they implemented, were able to get everyone else to bring up the living wage for the Future Core participants. And now it's actually become kind of a little bit of a big war. So it's nice to see, right, that Ann Arbor City does these good things, and it causes this ripple effect that builds up for the people who are all city event.
Laura,
Yeah.
I am I'm getting a little bit like of a muffled from you.
Mm.
Um, is there like any way that you can adjust the audio just a teensy bit?
And let me turn it up maybe a little, or just talk louder.
Oh, I hear you good there when you do that.
I'll talk louder and I'll bring my microphone a little closer. How's that?
Oh, it's great. It's so much better. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for letting me know. So it's the cold. It makes me get a little roady.
Oh,
So
I totally get it. I totally get it.
the next thing that OOE has been able to do is we have now brought language line to all city services. So our police department had this, and when I started, we have to Title VI is something that we have to do around English as a second language related to MDOT. MDOT has requirements that we make sure that we are able to serve any individual who comes into the city uh, who, English is the second language. And we've had some internal services available, but they weren't available in the top 5 languages that we have identified in the city. And I looked around and found a couple of different services, and Language Line is what we are all now using. Our one of the biggest places that uses it is our farmers market. So our people that work there, our city employees, and just call on their phone and choose the number. If I need somebody that's going to speak Arabic, on their phone, and then the person that is speaking Arabic speaks into the phone, and someone interprets straight out to them, and they can speak with the vendors and their native language, and things happen smoother. It's an amazing thing. Our fire department has also been starting to use it more because we see, how often it's used every month, and we file that in an equity report that goes to council every quarter. And when people call in for help from the fire department, it's being used to be able to translate what they're needing help for. So that is to me just amazing. I think that we now have this service. We get an amazing discount on it because we're a city and we belong to this municipal kind of coupon thing that I found that we were a part of. And so it does cost like 5 cents a minute or something for your basic languages like Spanish and Mandarin and Korean. And when you get into a little more of the obscure languages, uh, Portuguese would be one that not a lot of people are fluent in Portuguese. Then it goes up maybe to 10 cents a minute or something. But they also do documents. So we're being able to convert our paper documents, which we're trying to move away from for sustainability, but we still do have paper documents for everything that we have on the web for individuals who may not have access to the internet for some reason or need that paper document. We make certain that we have a printed copy in the top 5 languages. And if someone comes in and identifies that they need it in a different language, we would just need a few days to be able to send that to Language Line, get it translated back to them, or we could go to our website and print things off uh, through our interpretive services. It's not as nice as having it printed off from Language Line, but we are able to do those things. We also, I serve on various community boards, as does the accessibility coordinator and our data analyst. The one that I've been working with in the past 2 years is Embracing Our Differences. If you've ever gone out to Gallup Park and seen the big banners in the summertime that different people within the community submit this artwork, and it talks about their experience and individual and their identities. That's Embracing Our Differences. There's a kind of a permanent exhibit of that in Florida, and the one that we have here in Ann Arbor is the one for Michigan. And so wanted to highlight them. We also assist in the review of accessible and equitable practices in city-sponsored and citywide programs. Have to give a shout out to our art fair because we do a lot of work. We're in planning with that all the time, talking about the accessibility needs for that, the busing needs around that. It comes down to where are we putting the electrical plugs and where are we putting the bolsters for people to, not be able to drive a vehicle up into different areas. We talk about everything. Where are there, making certain that there are water fountains and benches, and we just go through everything and look at it from an equitable and accessible viewpoint. We work with our summer camps and really try to make certain we're serving the broadest audience as possible, and work with the staff and train the staff that come in for the summer up on different topics in accessibility, neurodiversity, disabilities, just amazing people to work with who are ready, willing, and able to work with individuals. In 2024, so in the fall, we began working with the City Improvement Planning Group, or CIP, which is a process team where they go through and look at 20 years out worth of projects, what's happening now, all the way through 20 years worth of what we hope to get done and what is ranked and needing to get done around the city. And we are scoring the ones that it's appropriate to score, right? If you're repaving a road and it's just a road that needs repaving and it has nothing to do with where that road is located, you're not choosing to do it over someone else's road because the people in that neighborhood are wealthier, it has nothing to do with equity. But if you're in a city, that's a problem in Baltimore, that's a problem in Boston, that's a problem in Oakland, where geographically they really have to look at every project that they do and say, are you paving this road for equitable reasons, for the right reasons, or are you doing it because it's going to benefit people who make more money and are going to, have access to community playing more than people who can't? Here in Ann Arbor, we do have neighborhoods that are not as wealthy as some other neighborhoods, but that's not necessarily the equity that we look at. We look more at what's the project, what's the purpose behind the project, who are the users of it. So when we're scoring equity, we're typically looking at things like transportation, like our bus stops, and where we're putting in sidewalks. How is that creating kind of movement within the city for people who are coming? We call it equitable economic mobility. Pardon me for a second. And then we also look at things for accessibility. If we're building a sidewalk, are we making certain that it is wide enough for all the accessible reasons? If we have to put in a new crosswalk, do we possibly have the money to put in, instead of just the little press the button crosswalk? Could we put in, if it's one of the ones where you press a button, could we also put in a pedal at the bottom for maybe people who can't reach it and press it? Or maybe could we start, none of our downtown crosswalk signs are audible. None of them say wait or beep beep. And maybe we need to start looking at adding that in. There's different things that we're sitting down with the planning team and saying, okay, where are you spending money and where might we be able to sprinkle in some of these things that could be needed? So that's what we're doing. We're really excited to have been invited to the table there, and we're still working with everybody to find the best approach to making it something that everybody understands, so that the engineers and planners, when they're creating their projects, don't say, I don't understand how to figure out if this is an equitable project or not. So we're still working with everybody. I'm learning a lot about planning and designing and all the different engineering things, and they're learning a lot about equity. So it's a great service that we're being able to do for the community. And in those projects, that's where we're really applying that future. What are we going to do if we've done something terrible in building this? How are we going to correct it for the future? And that's always a part of the scoring that we do. And the scoring matters as to where the movement of that project gets put in, where it gets placed as far as when is it going to happen within all the other budget, right? We can say, oh, we really like this one to be first, but then the state, the federal, all the monies that come in really dictate when things happen. But on the wish list, the scoring is what helps move things up and down. So in July of 2024, we hosted our inaugural art show by disabled artists at City Hall. It was in the City Council room, which is on the second floor. We plan to continue having that every July, and we want to grow the initiative. We hope within 5 years to be able to have it at multiple city buildings, so that throughout the month of July, you can go into our different city buildings and see artwork done by members of the disabled community here in the city of Ann Arbor. I also want to give you, let you know that we are currently running this drone pilot project feedback. It is on, you will see it run on the city's social media. The DDA will be putting it out in their newsletter in April, and the Office of Sustainability and Innovation will also be putting this in their newsletter in April. But it is out also on our social medias. We already have 500, we released it yesterday, and we have 500 results already. There's no open-ended questions because we just wanted to know some real basic information. We know the answer to an open-ended question is there is no perfect potty, right? Everyone's going to have something to say about it. And we know we're never going to make the best potty, but we want to know what people think of the thrones. That if you've been downtown, if you've been to some of our parks, we have these bathrooms that you can use a cell phone, or if you don't have a cell phone, you can get these little cards that you can use to scan to get in. And if you take a picture of, if you have your cell phone right now, I believe you can access the QR code from this here, or, we can get you the QR code in the future if you want to fill it out. We would love to get your input to those quick questions. Like I said, we're already getting 500 feedback. We were really excited. We thought maybe we would have 100 by this weekend, and then have 500 at the end of business today. It was just exciting for myself and my data analyst because we are data-driven individuals. Future impacts. So we launched in 2025 on January a compliment/complaint form. It is something that you can go to a2gov.org, and if you want to give one of our amazing workers or one of our amazing processes, like I have, living around the world, I have never seen elections run so smoothly as they do here in Ann Arbor, and I give Jackie and her entire team credit as often as I see them and as often as I can. You could write a compliment to city clerk's office, and it's a form that then comes to the Office of Org Equity, and we're building processes for sharing it out. You get feedback that yes, we received it, and if it's something that you're dissatisfied with, we have whoever you're dissatisfied with, people get in contact with you within a certain amount of time. We are more looking with this form for people to give us feedback on our processes. We certainly don't want you to have that experience with one employee. We hope that you never have a one employee complaint. We would love individual compliments for our employees. But we know that sometimes our processes and procedures just don't run as smooth as they should or could, or, outsiders from any part of any organization can sometimes see things clearer than those of us that are working deep inside it. Maybe you could say, hey, if you did this thing different when it comes to renting a kayak, it would run smoother, and that would be something maybe that would change the way we do things. So if you're ever interested in giving us a compliment or maybe a suggestion in changing our processes, go to the a2gov.org and just look for a compliment complaint form. It's out there, and we're ready to take your feedback. This year, probably in the fall, we're launching a citywide customer service standards, and it's based on customer service philosophy that's been created and will be disseminated to all of our employees. It's got external standards of how we're expected to interact with everyone that comes into the city, everyone that interacts with the city in any way, whether it's calls or we send you a tax bill, or we send you a hey, come to register to vote, and then it's internal, how we all interact with one another and respond to one another, as well as standards for how when you all interact with us, the standards of that. We're going to do a whole marketing campaign around it so everybody is aware of it happening. And it's going to be supported with multiple trainings through my office. And it's also going to include de-escalation training for our employees so that when people are in their big feelings, we can all de-escalate things just a little bit more. We're going to have that launched across the whole city in the next 2 years so that you or visitors will be able to have QR codes that you can give customer service feedback like you do on your receipts when you go through a fast food drive-through or to the grocery store. Myers, if you shop at Myers, sometimes they say, Myers store, sometimes you get a button, but then on your receipt, sometimes there's a QR code. We're working towards getting opportunities to give us more feedback so we can continue to improve, and so that you can see that we're continuing to improve and we can report those out. So that's bringing equity and equality to the entire process for all sides of the equation. And I'm excited about doing it. So OOE also works with our commissions, our council members, schools, and most importantly, all of you and the visitors to address our accessibility and equitable topics related to the city of it. You can go to the a2gov.org. If you just type in Office of Board Equity. If you type in equity, sometimes you will see the OSI, which is the Office of Sustainability and Innovation. Sustainability and equity go hand in hand, but it's equity around the environment. We're equity around the individual and the systems and the processes. And so we're not fighting with each other. It's just two different forms of equity. So you may see a different website, but organizational equity is our website. You'll see the MEI stuff. You'll see links to the commissions, all the resolutions that are related to equity around the city and keep up there. And it's our main web page for everyone to see. And that's all I have for you today. What are your questions for me, if any? Thank you.
No questions, guys? What?
It was so informative.
Well, okay.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
Does the city also provide ASL for people? For commission meetings, the city council meetings, we can. You actually contact the city clerk's office right now for those. Our language line does not, unfortunately, provide ASL. That's the one frustrating thing. But we also have in the city council room, up in the ceiling, there's something for if individuals who have a hearing, any type of hearing aid, or where it helps bring that down. The name of it has totally jumped out of my head, but if you have any ability to do it all with that device, it will. And we do closed captioning. The closed captioning in council chambers is going to take a minute or two to come back online because we had a systems failure this past Monday. But it is high on the list of make sure that closed captioning interior gets back up. So, but yes, if you need ASL for city council, or if you're going to go to a commission's meeting and you need ASL, you can reach out to my office or the city clerks and we will get you what you need. No questions. Oh, thank you, David. Thank you. Appreciate it. And yes, not surprisingly, they too gets 100. Although it did take us some work. So. Well, do we address the homelessness issue? We do in different ways. So when it came to the throne, putting up the thrones, the homelessness issue was, needing a cell phone to be able to get into the throne was part of the conversation. I was on the board for reviewing what vendor we were going to use to put in these pilot projects. And we talked a lot about, well, what about the individuals who may or may not have a cell phone? Not just the homeless, right? Although a lot of homeless individuals do have cell phones. So that's why that card was created and the ability to go, you can go to the Delano Center or you can come into City Hall and our supportive connections. They have cards as well, or you can reach out to me and I can get you a card if you don't want to use your cell phone, because I hate to use my cell phone for QR codes. Um, but in the way that they are always part of the conversation and the things that we are doing in health. The broader health of it is a city council kind of thing. And I'm certainly connected with our council members and talk with them about it all the time. But I'm solving the homelessness problem out of my office and as much as I wish. If that's not a great political answer, I guess I don't know what it is. We're working on that. The closed captioning during the live stream on YouTube. And has OE done any research on housing access and equity for renters? That would be something that we would have to be told to do, or the city council would have to do a resolution instructing the city administrator to do something like that. We did have an intern who did it for their internship project. It was not something specifically for the city. And they ran a whole social media questionnaire around housing access and equity for renters. We had a lot of questions in my office about why we were running a survey and we hadn't told the city about it. And it was like, no, it wasn't us. It was intern from our office. It was what they chose to do. Or there's wasn't any data that we then, I didn't go through and assess it. It was for the project for the class. They were just also doing internship in the office for another project. Um, it was interesting. That individual worked at the hospital at the U, University of Michigan, and it said what we all know: rent's too high, and there's not enough housing for individuals who work in the city, or even outside of the city, who work in the city at an affordable rate for what they earn at service jobs. But no, we would not go and do a survey like that on our own without instruction by city council. That's a pretty political survey. So with the facial recognition, I would reach out to our human rights, our HRC, our local Ann Arbor one, and talk to them about addressing it, and also talk to your local council member and get them interested in addressing it. That would be the Human Rights Ann Arbor Commission would be the best venue to address that, rather than the Office of Equity. We are not, the one big thing that we are not, that is frustrating to a lot of individuals, we are not enforcement. We can't go tell a local business that they have to do something around accessibility, right? Because we're not an enforcement agency, we're not the police. We just don't have that power. So we could say Commission on Disability, yes, you can go talk to them, but we do not have any power of enforcement in the Office of Equity Enforcement. So AAA accessibility, we absolutely work and talk with them on the bus stops around the curb cuts and all of that. I don't want to say I know exactly the wording around this, but I know there's like a certain radius. The AAATA is responsible for around a bus stop, and the city is responsible for around the bus stop. It is something that, yes, we always talk about. My accessibility coordinator and my data analyst are former AAATA employees, so they're very well versed in this, and really know every single bus stop and what every single bus stop needs. So it's always brought up in our CIP conversations. But there is that balance of who is responsible for that portion of it. So, equity language is under attack. How are you prepared? So the way I do DEI and equity is, it is not anything that is askew of how the current federal administration sees things according to anything that they've ever written so far. We have never only focused on one person or one identity or one thing. When we run data, we look to see. So if we run data on, let's take a look at within the city. Let's see, is everyone being paid equal who is an engineer? And then we look at the demographics: males, females, race, religion, anything that we have taken demographically at the city to see, to compare years of service, education, all of that. Take it all in there, right? Then we look at it. We don't go, oh, well, now we're only going to then pay attention to this one group of people. We're going to look at who needs that treatment. We're going to say, oh, this group of people, these white men who identify as Hindu, need a pay raise. They, for some reason, are making 30% than everyone else. So we need to go investigate this. We need to apply a treatment to this. We need to do an investigation and figure out what happens. We don't go in with, we're going to figure, we know who's strong here and who will automatically, and we don't exclude any from that process. And that is really what all of the executive orders, all of the rhetoric, all of the things that are being said boil down to. I am plugged into the Society of Human Resource Management. They run a weekly series on What's Happened This Week is basically the title of it, and kind of cover it for everybody and say, okay, here's what was said, and here's kind of how to break it down. But I'm a political scientist nerd, and so I've been reading everything you put out the first day, and it really, as long as you're showing that you're including everyone, that you're being equitable and applying treatments where treatments are deserved and not just focusing specifically in one area because you think this one area needs it, but you're looking at data and doing the treatments where the data says to go. You're upholding what they have put up thus far. And we call this ribbon election boxes on 5 central locations and quite far apart. Highly considerations for multimodal accessibility for early ballot drop box. I do not know.
You want me to take this one? Um, election drop boxes are currently distributed amongst the city based on distance and also based on the specific population size in each and every single area. And then we are state, like when we bought drop boxes, we were state funded to do it. And in order to be state funded to do it, we had to have a certain number of population size per drop box. So we were only really able to buy what we were allocated for based off of our population size, which is why you see the drop boxes kind of far apart, but it's supposed to be so that way each and every spot in the city has one that is about a mile to a mile and a half radius of one another. Um, so that's kind of where we were, but happy to talk about this more in a couple of weeks at our election headquarters with you, Lauren.
Did they have any multimodal accessible drop boxes at the time? Probably not, right? Because those are some old boxes that are around cities. So
No, and I don't, you know what? I don't know if I have ever actually seen any. That's a great question to ask our vendors. The drop boxes are all made to be obviously highly secure. They are like welded from the inside. And that was the other thing is that the drop boxes that we do not have direct access to, well, no, sorry, not direct access, but the drop boxes that we leave outside basically are all welded from the inside and they're very, very, very highly secure. But that being said, it also means that there's only 2 slots per, and they're both like on the top portions of it. So totally hear what you're saying, Lauren, and I think it's definitely an interesting thing to consider. And I'm very, very excited to ask our vendors and see, like, hey, I have you ever thought about this?
right, because it is really becoming more and more a thing that hasn't been a thing. And the answer probably in the past has been, well, you can just mail it in. Right.
Hmm.
But that is not how Ann Arbor thinks. So thank you
Yeah,
for bringing that up with me.
I think that's it.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming and thanks for being here for the first time. Not the last time, I'm sure. All righty, y'all. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending today. I will see you all next week. It'll be another Zoom session next week. So, and it is not on the top of my mind which one it is. So we will find out together next week, y'all. And I will see you later. Bye.